So it's
Let's
recordings
go.
in progress. I love it. I love it. Let's go, man. We're back. We're back. It's Q2. Baseball season's just started. I don't know if we want to talk about what's going on the
No,
South
man, I
Side
given
here in
up.
Chicago,
I'm a
but
Brewers fan now.
let you.
We're doing good.
Oh man, love it, man. We've got Disrupt Education. For those who don't know, make sure you follow the podcast, disrupteducation.co. You can follow it on all streaming platforms,
Mhm.
Spotify, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, you name it. Make sure you check out Mr. Peter Hostrauser here. He's doing some great work. Man, I feel like we haven't talked in forever. How was your spring break? How are you
All
feeling,
good,
man?
man. Yeah, it was good. A break is a break, and it takes you away from everything with a lot of
Yeah.
friends and just chilling, man. And that's exactly what the break was. So I've lightened up a
Yes.
little bit on social media too, just because you get so down deep into it. So
Yeah.
it helps you reset.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. And I think that kind of leads right into my question that I have. This was a question we talked about probably a couple months ago.
Hmm.
Audrey Boyle, someone you know,
Yep.
and a great mentor of mine as well. She's going into this year, with flow. And when we recently talked, she told me like, I feel like I'm in such a great flow, and it's like an abundance of flow that I'm in that like she's like trying to figure out how to take it in, but she's
Hmm.
like really just enjoying this space that she's in. And I'm curious to know like from the beginning of this year till now, what does your flow look like day to day? And how are things progressing as we head into the end of the school year now? It's April.
So we're right around March Madness, right? The
Yeah.
crazy basketball. And I look at a year of education in quarters. I know we
Nice.
actually don't do grades every quarter, some do. Um,
Hmm.
Not a big fan, but I do
Yeah.
look at it like we are in the fourth quarter right now. So what do
Mm.
the best teams do? So when I back in the day, I had Shannon Brown in class when I worked at Proviso East High
Oh
School,
wow.
and
Did
he had
not
made
know
his
this.
way to Lakers championship. Amazing young man. And what he said when he was at Michigan State under Tom Izzo was he ran us like crazy, right? And what he was doing
Mm.
was, and what the best teams do is prepare you for in college, it's the second half, but in the bigs, NBA or whatnot, it's the fourth quarter.
All
You
right.
you play hard in the fourth quarter and you outplay the other team. Let's go back to sorry for you U of I fans, but like you saw what UConn did, just turned it on a 30-0
Yeah.
run right after
Whew.
halftime. So that's kind of my flow after this time, like after spring break is coming into this. And yeah, I will not allow senioritis. I think senioritis is a joke because it's fourth quarter, right?
That's
So
right.
wherever
That's right.
the young people are going to go, they're going to end up in a fourth quarter somewhere, and it's going to be tough. They're not going to want to do it, but I'm going to help them grind through it. And
Yeah.
not to a point where you're shoving their head in the water saying drink. I mean, it's like I'm going to give them the reality. So yeah, that's kind of where the flow is. Especially, I work with a lot of seniors who are, they're 12 years in the education system, and that's fine and all good. But what I'm trying to help them do is do that transition, man. I'm like, let's go. So that's where my flow state is right now. It doesn't matter if you're a sophomore, junior, senior. Just trying to help them really understand. Okay, let's start. You start. I'm going to start helping you take advantage of school rather than school take advantage of your time. So yeah, it's the flow state, man. That's where I'm at. I love that. Love that word.
Man. Man, I don't even know where to start with all that. First of all, I didn't know about the Shannon Brown
Hmm.
former student of yours. That's amazing. Shout out to Shannon Brown, excellent player.
Yep.
Yeah, just you know what, like it's so crazy you say that. I go back to the High Project all the time that we did
Yep.
together,
At the end of the year,
and
right?
I mean, man, it was like the fourth quarter. You felt fatigue, but like the last team who was going to win was the team that was going to fight through that fatigue. Like that,
Hmm.
that's really what it was. And I feel like that's why we did come out on top with that project, because it was like we weren't going to let anything stand in our way. We didn't want to shorthand ourselves. Like we wanted to be fully prepared going in. And that was one feeling, and I still feel this to this day. Like anything that I do now, like if I'm not prepared fully, there's just this level of awkwardness that overcomes
Mhm.
me. And, sometimes you have to improv when you're in those situations that either you just couldn't plan for or predict, but like knowing you have time to prepare and making the decision whether or not to prepare or not. Um, I mean, listen, 99% of the time, I'm going to be prepared. Like, that's
Right.
one thing, whether it's a performance or anything in life that I do, like, that's just my mentality. And
Yep.
it is a mentality that you have to build, right? I think a lot of that does come with a level of discipline, right?
Hmm.
And there was a chapter of a book I'm reading right now. It's called Discipline is Destiny, right?
Mm.
So, kind of going back to what you're saying about, I'm not going to allow senioritis, right? Um, what level of discipline, I guess, do you have to have as a teacher to show that, to your students and, hope in hopes that they embody this, to know like,
Right.
this is the final stretch. Let's finish strong here.
Well, as a lot of people know, teens are the best poker players out there. So they,
Yeah.
will quote unquote ignore you, but a lot of them actually are listening. I
Yeah.
think, one of the biggest challenges as an educator is not to give up. I mean, because if
Hmm.
you're sitting in a room where you've got, 30 kids and maybe
Yeah.
three are in it, and the
Yeah.
rest are just kind of giving up.
Right.
Well, I'm going to teach to those three, and then I'm going to let everybody
Hmm.
know that I'm teaching to these three. If you guys want to jump on board, jump on board. And really just then starting to have real conversations with people. In entrepreneurship classes that I teach right now, I've got two or three groups that are ahead in kind of the curriculum because they're curious, they want more, and I'm like,
Right.
okay,
Right.
let's. I'm not going to slow down. I
Yeah.
will go at the pace for the class, but if you want to go faster, you can go faster. And
Sure.
like I said today, actually in class, where they're working on their MVP, their minimal viable product, at the end of the year, I'm
Yeah.
like, this is what separates people who really believe and who don't believe, right? You're
Mm.
actually going to really build something if you believe in it, or you're just going to kind of check the box if you don't. And that realization is learning, right? And some
Yeah.
people aren't ready yet, but I'll be
Yeah.
damned if I'm gonna like not like push because they're gonna identify that they're not ready yet, and then they're gonna have to identify what they need to change in order to be ready. And again, I'm
Yes.
not expecting everybody to do everything perfectly or
Sure.
exactly at the same time. The
Right.
self-actualization is huge. So as
Yeah.
an educator, man, you're tired. I'm tired, but
Yeah.
you still got to keep going through it. They've heard you
Yeah.
all year. They'll play poker. They're like, I don't really care about this one. I know they do. So I think that's
Yeah.
one of the most difficult things to do.
No, and I think that's so key because like, like you have to be able to test like all ends of the spectrum. Whether
Mhm.
you're a senior in the class, I'm sure you have a mixture of juniors, maybe
Mhm.
sophomores, right? And so like for that sophomore that's maybe sitting in the class and maybe is not as motivated or is like, oh, I've got, 2 more years, I can
Mhm.
come back. And it may like light a different fuel in them too when they
Yeah.
see the senior, see the junior who, this is their last class, or like, hey, I've taken this class before,
Mhm.
and I want to be on top. Being able to have those students that lead by example and can also show the best, the best value you can get out of a situation, I
Yeah.
think is so valuable to just life in general.
Yeah.
Because the reality is once you leave that classroom, right? It doesn't stop. It's not like, oh, you
Yeah.
stop and
Right.
then like you don't apply these skills to real life and what you do. And I think that's the part where, in high school and just traditional education, like those are things that we have to continue to, embody and ingrain in the students to understand that these
Mhm.
life skills are going to follow you regardless of what path you decide to go down. If it's, any industry, the tech industry, hospitality, you name it, these are all things that you can transfer over to any field. So,
100%.
man, keeping the flow, keeping the foot on the gas. No senioritis. I love it. Peter Holstrauser, for those who don't know, make sure you check him out. Disrupteducation.co. Myself, DG Sachs, dgsachs.com for those who got any events coming up. This calendar is filling up quick, man. I'm telling you, I'm already booking for 2025. So if
Yeah.
you guys are looking for an event, you have some entertainment, you're running a webinar, a showcase, I'd love to be a part of it. Let's connect, let's collaborate, share the content, and look forward to talking. But until next time, we appreciate you tuning in.
I guess.